May I come in, sir?
Yes, please do.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Please take your seat.
Thank you, sir.
You're Mr. Vishal Khatri.
Yes, sir.
Vishal, I can see that you're basically from Maharashtra,
Yes,
Nagpur.
sir. Yes, sir.
I can also see that you've done your bachelor's in engineering in civil engineering from IIT Bombay.
Yes, sir.
That is the last degree you passed?
No, sir. I also went to Ashoka University for a degree, for a postgraduate diploma. It's called Young India Fellowship. That was from 2014 to 2015.
Okay, you got this Young India Fellowship. It's a 1-year program?
This is a 1-year program, sir.
Okay, and that was in 2015.
14 to 15. I graduated in 2015.
What is the objective of Young India program?
Sir, this is basically a liberal arts program. It provides an exposure to a broad range of topics, including all the liberal arts, economics, literature, history, sociology, etc. Within that,
so it's a BA program for masters?
Yes, sir. I think it does not go into as much depth as a master's degree would, but it just touches on all of these subjects.
And what are they trying to make you out of a political leader?
Not really, sir. So people go their separate paths. Many people go into academia, many people go into journalism, people start working on their jobs, etc.
Because I'm baffled that why you joined this program.
Sir, so my reason was joining was very clear. I basically wanted to study liberal arts formally, but I never got an opportunity except doing a couple of electives at IIT. And this was a 1-year program which provided exposure to all of these disciplines. That's why I enrolled for it.
Okay. And why do you want to join Forest Services?
Sir, while I was working at my previous job, which was at Boston Consulting Group, I happened to do a project with the Rajasthan government where I worked very closely with the mining, environment and other departments. There I realized the scale and the challenges that this job offers. That's the primary reason. Other reasons include, sir, the variety of work. You can work across disciplines in forest services, including rural livelihoods, tourism, wildlife management and forests, of course. It is also a public facing job, and that's the kind of job I am interested in.
Vishal, I'm always baffled by the idea of having a forest service in India. I do understand why we had it in colonial times. In colonial times, the forests were a resource to exploit, right?
Yes, sir.
To exploit for the colonial reasons.
Right, sir.
Why are we continuing with the forest service still? I mean, what is the rationale of having a forest service if we have stopped looking forest as a resource to exploit and we treat it as a resource to preserve?
Right, sir. So, first point, sir, even while the aim has changed from exploitation to preservation, it still requires scientific management and conservation of forests in terms of what species to grow, what the mix should be, where the afforestation should be done, etc. The second key reason, sir, is related to tourism and wildlife conservation. So if we did not have an elaborate administrative setup for wildlife conservation, many of the species would have gone extinct.
Vishal, if we look at forest as a resource,
yes, sir.
For example, forest as source of timber.
Right, sir.
I'm also surprised that, for example, if you visit a market, you'll find that teak wood,
yes, sir,
coming from Ghana is
yes,
cheaper. Costlier is one coming from Ivory Coast,
right,
and the
sir.
costliest is the one which is coming from India.
Right.
What could be the reason? Is it so that we are actually exploiting these nations and getting cheap timber from there rather than using our own resources? Are we becoming another colonial force?
Sir, I'm not sure, but can I take a guess? Sir, the reason might lie in the regulatory requirements. So, when you extract forests from India, there is a certain licensing fee to be paid to the forest departments for the cutting permits. There are regulations as to how much cutting can be done, where it can be done, etc., which increases the cost. On the point of exploitation, sir, I don't think it's exploitation per se. The nations are doing it out of their free will. And it is free trade, so I don't think you can term that as exploitation.
Because the reverse is happening if we consider the mining resources. We are mining the resources mined out of our country are getting people are getting sending it to Japan, to China,
Right,
and they are getting it cheaper from our country than they mine it from their own place.
Right, sir.
And we do consider that more or less exploitation, though it is the free will thing applies here as well.
Right. Sir, the natural resources, forests, minerals, etc., are not distributed equally throughout the world. For example, India has huge forest resources, while a country like Singapore might not have any forest resources. So, as long as the trade is fair, as long as it is compliant with the necessary laws and regulations, I don't think there should be a problem with that.
Fine, thank you.
So you're a civil engineer.
Yes, sir.
So you know something about channel morphology. What is channel morphology?
Sir, I'm not sure.
What is thalways?
What is?
Thalways.
Sir, I'm not sure. I studied civil engineering 2013 the last time. That was a long time ago.
Okay. So you must studied, I think, what surveying.
Yes, sir.
So what type surveying is useful in what forestry?
Sir, the most important use is to demarcate the forest boundaries.
Now what type of survey you are going to apply to survey forest? Either
Right.
plain table survey, theodolite survey or remote sensing survey.
Sir, that depends on the objective of the assignment as well as the resources and time available. If you don't require a very accurate map, a plain table survey is quick and it is fairly accurate. If you have the resources and the time, then we can go for other elaborate survey.
How you can do plain table survey in forest? Because there is no what actually visibility. You can't see the next target.
Right, sir. That is a key requirement. So from one station, you should be able to look at the other station.
Okay, how microwave remote sensing is useful for surveying of the forest? Microwave remote sensing.
Sir, I'm not sure.
You know LIS, linear imaging and scanning system?
Yes, sir.
What is this?
Sir, basically this is a technology which uses satellite data to map out the geomorphic features.
Is it sensor or what camera?
Sir, I'm not sure, but can I take a guess?
Yes, of course.
Sir, I think it is a sensor.
Yes, thank you. Very good. Okay, look, in India, there is exceptionally dry evergreen forest biome. What part of India having dry evergreen forest biome?
Can I just take 10 seconds to think about
Yeah,
this?
of course.
Sir, I think parts of the southern coastal states, including Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, which are inland and they do not get enough rainfall from the
Not
rain shadow
Karnataka,
region.
only Tamil Nadu.
Only Tamil.
So why on Tamil Nadu coast there is what dry evergreen forest biome? That average amount of precipitation is what not more than 100 centimeter.
Right, sir.
And for tropical climate, there must be 200 plus centimeter annually
Right.
to be a evergreen forest.
Right.
So why here itself is what dry evergreen forest biome? What is the reason?
Sir, I think the rainfall is not enough, but the temperature and the moisture conditions are sufficient to grow it into an evergreen forest.
What are the biodiversity of this dry evergreen forest?
Sir, I'm not sure.
Bioproductivity?
Sorry, sir, I'm not sure.
Not sure. Okay. So you from Nagpur?
Yes, sir.
So Nagpur is orange city.
Right.
So district like Nagpur, Bhandara,
Yes, sir.
all are very much famous for cultivation of orange.
Right, sir.
Why orange is cultivated in these two areas?
Sir, the first reason is that Nagpur and adjoining areas have the black regur soil, which suits the requirement of a citrus tree like orange. That's the only reason I can think of.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Vishal. As the meaning of your name suggests, big, gigantic,
Right, sir.
right? So, in which way you feel yourself pop-up personality merit-wise?
Can you repeat the question, sir? I did not.
In which way you feel that you are more pop-up positively?
Hmm.
Means big personality.
Sir, I think in terms of the breadth of my interests, I am interested in the startup ecosystem in India. I read a lot of non-fiction across topics. As I mentioned to Sir, I went to this program called Young India Fellowship, which also helped me cultivate diverse interests.
Okay, you dropped this thing that analyzing is starting up ecosystems. But just for my information that I don't know,
Right, sir.
I have seen temple conical shape and I have seen mosque.
Right, sir.
Right. So what is the difference that temples are conical by and large,
Right, sir.
and mosques are tomb shaped? What is the means being a civil engineer? What may be the difference or the reason that mosques are such?
Right. Sir, I'm not sure. Can I take a guess?
Yeah.
Sir, I think it might be related to the acoustics and the history of architecture. As far as acoustics is concerned, I think because the mosque is used to give out an azan or a call for prayer, the tomb-shaped architecture might make it better. Regarding history, sir, the mosque architecture was imported to India in waves from Central Asia and Persia, and that tomb component comes from there as well.
Okay, I drop you one hint also.
Right, sir.
Say for example, igloos,
sir.
where Eskimos
Yes, sir.
are living. What is that shape of their house?
Sir, that is also a tomb kind of shape.
Yeah. So what can be the similar reason?
Sir, igloos are shaped so because the surface area to volume ratio becomes smaller, so they don't melt. They provide better heat protection inside.
Inside and for outside. If snowfall is there, then
Right, sir. So it helps dissipate the snow and
even distribution of that pressure.
right, sir.
So for town planning, we are having rectangular shape like this room also.
Right, sir.
Fine. Why not that igloos if we are going to have so as to have positive flow of energy?
Sir, rectangular shaped is used because the packing is better. The packing ratio can become much higher in a rectangular shape because you can join two rectangles together. If you try to join two cylindrical shaped things together, there would be a lot
In
of
between
voids.
space,
Yes,
no,
sir.
in between space will be lost
Yes, sir.
that way. Say for example, Qutub Minar here in Delhi.
Yes, sir.
What is the significance from a civil engineer's perspective if you are going to have a big, you can say, very big project?
Yes, sir.
So what this Qutub Minar is giving you that sense that yes, I can have one big project and nothing will happen to it.
Sir, I think it signifies the importance of using whatever technology is available. So even though advanced materials, advanced engineering knowledge about fluid flow, wind direction, it was not available during that times, they were able to construct such a structure.
But don't you think that more than I think for 500 years,
Yes,
it is intact?
right, sir.
So tremors were there in Delhi, earthquake were also there in Delhi.
Right, sir.
So for more years, say for example for 100 years, whatever investment we are having for big bridge or project,
Right, sir.
so you can convince the government.
Right,
If
sir.
Qutub Minar is there, then that project will also be there. Fine.
Vishal,
Yes, ma'am.
recently there was a coastal regulation zone notification. Can you tell me what have been the changes that have been made by the government?
Ma'am, I'm not sure.
Okay, can you tell me how are these zones divided as 1, 2, 3, 4? What's the parameter?
Can I take a guess? Ma'am, I think one, it is related to the ecologically sensitiveness of the area, and secondly, the population density of those areas. There's also a cut across rural and urban areas.
You cannot classify them?
Ma'am, there are 4 zones, CRZ 1 to 4. One is the most sensitive area, which includes sensitive coastal areas, mangrove ecosystems, etc. I don't recall at the moment the definition.
Okay, no problem. What are ecotone zones?
Ma'am, ecotones are zones of transition between two ecosystems. So for example, mangroves will be an ecotone as we transition from a terrestrial ecosystem to a marine ecosystem.
So do they possess more biodiversity or lesser as compared to their adjoining area?
Ma'am, they have more diversity because in addition to the species from both the adjoining ecosystems, they also possess a category of separate species which are called edge species.
Okay, can you give me the names of edge species in mangroves?
Ma'am, I think saltwater crocodile is one of the edge species.
Okay. There was a news about tiger Avni some time back. Can you tell me what was it about?
Ma'am, tiger Avni was a tiger from the Nagpur area. There are a couple of national parks adjoining it, including Pech and Tadoba. That tigress, for some reason, turned into a man-eater, and the state government had hired a private hunter to hunt her down.
But there was huge hue and crisis after she was killed. Why was that?
The controversy was about whether she was killed in self-defense or not. The hunter was not given the authority to shoot her down. He was only hired to tranquilize and relocate her.
So that was a misfire kind of thing from our side. We shouldn't have killed because we also have Project Tiger running.
That's true, ma'am. But our approach to conservation has been that a man's life is more important than a tiger's life. This is also encoded into our legislations, including the Wildlife Protection Act, which offers an exception for killing in self-defense.
Okay. Can you tell me the name of state butterfly of Maharashtra?
Sorry, ma'am, I'm not sure.
State animal?
Sorry, ma'am.
Okay, can you give me the names of tiger corridors in Maharashtra?
So, ma'am, Maharashtra basically has 6 tiger reserves.
Tiger corridors. What's the idea behind tiger corridors?
Tiger corridors are narrow corridors connecting 2 protected areas so that the migration is not hampered.
Migration? Movement?
Movement of wildlife from one protected area to the next protected area is not hampered. I don't recall the names of the corridors.
Okay, my last question to you. What is Blue Flag certification for beaches? When is it given?
Yes, ma'am. Blue Flag certification is basically an accreditation program. It was started in France in 1960s. Based on several parameters about sustainable ecotourism, they grant the Blue Flag certification. Recently, the CRZ norms were amended again so that Blue Flag certification beaches can develop infrastructure.
Thank you.
Vishal, your option is mathematics.
Yes.
How will you use your knowledge of mathematics in forest services?
Sir, so mathematics also involved some study of statistics, data analysis, etc. That can be very useful in mapping out the forest resources of the country. What is the growing stock? What is the percentage of forest cover, etc.
What's the forest percentage cover in India right now?
Sir, the State of Forest Report 2019 says that the forest cover is 21.89%. And the tree cover is additional 2.6%.
And which state covers the largest forest area?
Sir, can I take a guess?
Yeah, please.
Sir, I think it's Arunachal Pradesh.
Arunachal Pradesh. You are talking about percentage by terms or in terms of?
In the absolute terms.
In absolute terms. Okay, can you tell me that mangroves are also covered under forest cover or not?
Sir, the report gives out a separate data for mangroves.
Okay. And have you heard the term sacred groves?
Yes, sir.
What is it?
Sir, sacred groves are certain forests maintained by indigenous communities which they pray to as their deities.
Have you heard the term Dev Rai?
Yes, sir.
What is it?
Sir, these are sacred groves in Maharashtra.
Okay, and in which valley?
Sir, I'm not
Panche
sure.
Valley, Pune district.
Right, sir.
Okay, how these sacred groves are different from core area of national park?
Sir, first of all, sacred groves can be privately owned, while core areas of national parks are necessarily publicly owned. Secondly, sir, sacred groves are not inviolable. the person who owns and other persons can enter sacred groves, while core area is inviolable in law.
There's a place in news recently, Natanz Nuclear Fuel Enrichment Facility. Have you heard this term?
No, sir.
It's in Iran.
Right, sir.
Okay, so can you tell us about what is the tussle between US and Iran right now?
Right, sir. So a deal called joint cooperation. Can I just take a moment, sir? Sir, a deal popularly called the Iran nuclear deal was signed between the 5 permanent members of the United Nations and Germany with Iran, according to which Iran was to severely limit its nuclear program in exchange for lifting of restrictions by the US.
Which was this facility of nuclear enrichment program? And Natanz was the facility.
Right, sir.
Okay, so Iran Convention or Ramsar Convention is also related to these kind of things?
Sir, Ramsar Convention basically covers wetlands.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Where is it Ramsar is placed?
Ramsar is a place in Iran, sir.
Okay. Can you tell us what is Ramsar Convention?
So Ramsar Convention is an international agreement for conservation of wetlands. It emphasizes wise and judicious use of wetlands, and several sites in the country are also have also been marked as Ramsar sites.
Does India have any sites?
Yes, sir. India has.
Which sites?
Sir, for example, Sundarban was recently included in the Ramsar Convention.
Okay, only one site?
No, sir. There are, I think, 20 plus sites in India.
20 plus sites. So, okay, Vishal, what do you think that what are the prospects for India to engage with Latin American countries?
Right, sir. Sir, so we have a minimal level of engagement with Latin American countries right now, including at different tracks. But they offer very important resources for us. For example, for electric vehicles, we require huge resources of lithium and other rare earth minerals, which the area in Bolivia, etc. offers. So in that way, there are huge opportunities for bilateral.
Have you heard of agreement, Mercosur agreement?
Yes, sir.
What is it?
Sir, this is a free trade agreement between certain nations between certain Latin American countries.
Okay, thank you.
Vishal.
Yes, sir.
Vishal, can you name a few, if there are women CM right now?
Women chief ministers.
Yeah.
Can I just take a moment, sir? Sir, Mamata Banerjee from West Bengal.
That's it.
That's it.
Muslims chief ministers.
Sir, I don't.
Christian chief ministers.
Sir, I'm not sure about northeastern states, but in the mainland, I don't recall any.
There are hardly any. Dalit chief ministers, right?
Sir, Dalits only or including the other backward castes?
No, Dalit only.
Dalit.
SC category.
Yes. Sir, I'm not.
Have we failed as a nation to give representation to the marginalized?
Sir, that assessment cannot be made only on the basis of...
These are the seats of power. We can give notional, we can give ceremonial positions, that you can make governors, you can make even presidents, hardly matters. The real positions of power are these powers. And these are not something that can be given. These are something that can be achieved and only if the society approves. So we as a society, I'm not talking about we as state, but we as a society, do you believe we failed in giving adequate representation to marginalized?
Sir, I don't think so. First of all, even outside of the reserved seats, several Dalits, women and Christians, other religions, minority religions are elected to various legislatures, including state legislatures and parliament. Secondly, sir, even in the executive at a ministerial level, there is wide diversity in terms of religion, in terms of other backward castes, etc.
Like how many Muslims are there in the Union Cabinet?
Sir, I don't think so. There is.
So, would you like to revise your opinion? You're still firm that we prosper as a diverse, adequately representing democracy, or we need to do more?
Sir, we definitely need to do more, but we have come a long way since 1947. For example, the 17th Lok Sabha has the highest percentage of
There were
women.
more women chief minister in 1947 than we have now.
Right. Sir.
Anyway, it was very nice talking to you. You can leave.
Thank you, sir.
Take your seat, Vishal.
Thank you, sir.
जी विशाल, कैसा लग रहा है? What are the areas you believe that you still need to work?
Sir, I think I need to read up more on Maharashtra and civil engineering.
Civil engineering, I'm not sure, but Maharashtra definitely you need
Right.
to read a bit. See, you're a very, very good candidate. I don't see many problems here. Okay, your interview is on
11th of February.
11th of February. Not really far. Abhi paas mein hi hai. See, by and large, your communication is good. Your sitting posture is very good. Your voice level is good. Flow is good. Your vocabulary is good. Eye contact by and large is good. Hand movement is restricted. So, both verbal and non-verbal communication is in place. There's hardly any change required. You are into an engaging conversation. So, by and large, board members would like to interact with you. So, that's not a problem. Yes, the only area of concern was that I thought that you are not adequately prepared Maharashtra. I mean your home state.
Right.
Home state, especially concerning to forest and environment.
Right.
That part you can revise. Everything else, I'm happy. I mean, I cannot pinpoint any serious area of concern. So by and large, things are okay. There are areas where you need not be defensive because these are not your faults. Especially when we, in the last phrase, when we were talking about this representation thing,
Right.
I think it was okay to accept that yes, we can. I mean, it should be
Right.
done. You're not indicting government or anything on this, so you have to worry about it. And it will also show that you are sensitive.
Right.
Here it appears that as if you're saying in a brute manner,
Right.
ho gaya. There was no need to do so. Otherwise, I'm happy. I'm sure that you'll be doing it.